can hear me? Yeah. All right, I want to thank, actually 50 years. What do you do when you're celebrating 50 years? You say thank you. There are so many people to thank for 50 years. I want to thank my carnal, Danny. Think about it. Órale, aquí. We started life sleeping together. He was 1 year old, and he couldn't sleep one night. He was walking around the house, and I used to sleep in the living room in an old farmhouse in the Delano area, and I heard his footsteps. He was 1 year old, and I said, "What's the matter?" He goes, "Can't sleep." Well, midday, So he crawled into the army cot, because that's what we used to use in army cots and put them away during the day. So that started it, And so the bond here is between brothers, and out of that love between brothers grows the art form. I painted his whiskers when he did Elvis at Berryessa Grammar School. And he could only do pantomime, right? He had the little ukulele, but he was doing Elvis, man, So I put the makeup on him, But inevitably, it was destined in a way that he and I would be involved in El Teatro Campesino. I have a lot of friends and family that I want to thank. One of my oldest friends is here from high school. We met almost 60 years ago, I think, and pretty soon, huh? Mike Conniff, Mike, take a bow, from James Lake High School. My Irish-American friend. And I knew his family, I knew his dad. He was a superintendent here in San Jose, a wise man. I knew his family, a loving family. And I went to his home when we were still in high school, and that friendship fed me. And so you go along and you realize, life is a continuum, it keeps going. I think Cesar put it into so many words. He was so wise in so many different ways. And he used to say, repeating, I think, ancient Mexican wisdom, hay más tiempo que vida. There's more time than life. And then he used to say also, los pobres no tienen dinero, pero tienen tiempo. The poor have no money, but they have time. And so it is through the grinding wheels of time that we create change. The poor, the unemployed, the people at the bottom of the ladder are fighting the land war of humanity's march, of humanity's war with itself. They're the infantry. They don't get to fly in the airplanes, go over. Those are the corporate people, So the poor have to do the land war. They're the grunts. They're the ones that have to grunt it. And so the only way that you can do that is by having the support of the people around you, your loved ones. So family becomes really crucial. It becomes an absolute necessity to strengthen your family bonds so that you can survive. And I have every reason in the world to thank my compañera, Lupe. A daughter of campesinos, who were also strikers back in 1941 in Southern California, Santa Paula. And the mother of 3 of our sons. But more than that, at the beginning, she was a member of El Teatro Campesino. She joined in 1968. She was the first college-educated Chicana to join El Teatro. That made a big difference. And so she has been one of the founders and one of the pillars of my life personally, but also of the company, because she has given up her strength. And she's a designer. She designed the costumes for Valley of the Heart. She's continuing to design, discovering really over the years what her artistry, which has always been there. But beyond that, also my friends. Phil Esparza, where's Phil? Outside. Phil Esparza. 1969. This 19-year-old walks in. He's going to Fresno State. And he walks in, he wants to talk to me. And so ever since 1969, Phil has been the executive producer at Teatro Campesino. Again, the pillar to hold up this company. Through thick and thin, through money, no money, limited resources, but a brother in every sense of the word, spiritual brother, who's helped to keep this company alive through his personal dedication. That's what it takes. It takes this kind of dedication. I'm proud to say that the Teatro Campesino is composed of a lot of 40-plus members, people that have been with the Teatro for over 40 years. The musicians you saw up here, with Danny, all of them have sung one way or another with the Teatro Campesino over the last 40 years. How do you maintain that kind of, it's because we're fighting the land war, you know what I mean? We're the infantry. And so we have to rely on each other to be able to do, not 24 hours a day, not 12 months a year. We come together when we need to. But they're Teatro Campesino members. And this weekend they're going back to Delano to sing at the 50th anniversary celebration of the strike, the Great Strike. And I must say, they were there. Danny was over here singing Dahil Sayo, which is a song in Tagalog, it's in Ilocano, it's in Filipino. And I'm saying, sing it. Because, we learned that song for the Filipino strikers back in Delano. And again, that was a key and central experience because they were part of the land war. They were the ones that started the Great Strike. And so we had to acknowledge that in some way. And in the Teatro Campesino, we've had people of every stripe, every background. And we're very proud of that. We're multicultural from the very beginning. We're multilingual from the very beginning because we had to be, and again, there was a heavy emphasis on the Latino-Mexican aspect, perhaps because we outnumbered everybody, but that didn't close us off from other people. That didn't close us off from speaking English. Hablábamos en español porque era necesario, ¿verdad? Pero también hablábamos totacha, en inglés, in English. And so my beginnings, again, here on this campus are key and central. I speak now to the students, those of you that are still going here, that are students here. When I first saw this campus, it was 1955. I was still in high school. My brother, though, started going here. And I walked onto this campus with him. None of these buildings were here. The old quadrangle was out here. And coming from San Antonio Street and looking at the university, this looked Ivy League to me. This was Harvard for me. And so it was a tremendous experience to kind of set my sights on San Jose State and say, I'm going to come here. And as a result, my life completely changed. I knew that the moment I started going to college, I was no longer poor. I was no longer exploited. That I was going to be free. And that the education that I got here is what set me up. I used to work in the library that used to stand here, the Walker's Library. And I went from cutting broccoli by Alviso to stacking books in the stacks here. And in the books, I discovered, because I was a stacker, I was real fast, and I could take a little time then to see what's in the stacks, You could do that. Then you say, oh, I discovered Bertolt Brecht, a new edition of Martin Eslin's book on Bertolt Brecht. I became a Brechtian in the stacks here. And it was a new edition, that came in. I said, who's Brecht? Brecht. What is this Brecht? And it became one of the influences in my life, So along the way, I discovered American theater on this campus. I was an English major with emphasis in playwriting. I was a math and physics major first. Okay, this is a school that still emphasizes engineering. They're a feeder for Silicon Valley. I try to tell people that without art, there is no technology. You gotta respect the arts, man. And San Jose State should be as strong as possible in the arts. It should emphasize all of the arts as part of their mission to create sciences, because that's the way you create science. In any case, I was very fortunate to have some wonderful instructors here, and they exposed me to the American theater of the 1930s. I fell in love. The living theater, you mentioned the living newspaper, which is that newspaper that drops in Zoot Suit. I got inspired by the living newspaper in the 1930s, the mid-30s during the Depression, by all those playwrights. William Saroyan, John Howard Lawson, Clifford Odets. My wife and I were just in New York a couple of days ago. I was at the Public Theater at Joe's Pub, and we did a reading of Clifford Odets' Waiting for Lefty, one of the plays that inspired me completely. And I got to do the radical, calls out for strike, strike, strike. And I remember studying that here at San Jose State, and suddenly I'm back in New York, and they're doing it at the Public because they feel the need for it now. This is a play from 1935. And things have gotten so bad in the economic system now. When they destroyed the Glass-Steagall Act that allowed the banks to do whatever the hell they wanted to, they put us in danger of another Great Depression. And that's what we still are. And so people are hurting. And so that play from 1935 spoke to the hurt of the Great Depression. I could understand that because my family, as Mexican Americans, were still in the Great Depression in the 1950s. We felt it. My first play, The Shrunken Head of Pancho Villa, is a theater of the absurd. Why? Because it was absurd the way we were living in the 1950s as Mexicanos. Why were we so goddamn poor? Why? In the richest country on earth. That was absurd to me. And so I had to put it into some form, and I wrote The Shrunken Head of Pancho Villa. And the oldest son of that family is a big head who eats enormous amounts of food, Can't talk, always singing la cucaracha. And they have to feed him, so the family is poor because they're feeding this cabeza, It turned out to be the head of Pancho Villa, Anyway, this play was performed at the Studio Theater, the Helltot Theater at the Drama Building. William Saroyan and John Howard Lawson saw it at the Northwest Drama Conference. And they gave me a boost. They accepted me. These are masters. These are people that were famous. I knew John Howard. I knew that William Saroyan was world famous already. He won the Pulitzer. He'd been on Broadway. His plays had been turned into movies. And here he's seeing my first play. And he loved it. And John Howard Lawson, the founder of the Writers Guild of America in Hollywood, one of the Hollywood 10 that was blackballed, was accused of being a communist. I guess he was a member of the Communist Party at one point. But he was a Broadway playwright. Actually, he was a middle-class kid when he started in New York. Jewish and a radical. And he saw the play too, and he praised it. And I said, wow, these guys are praising my work. And they were both members of the group theater. The group theater of the 1930s, which I've studied in class. And I said, wow, these are members of the group theater with Harold Klorman. And then what? Years later, I meet Harold Klorman, and he reviews Zoot Suit. He's one of the few that gave us a damn good review, in New York. Harold Klorman. And I'm saying, damn, history is right there. You can touch it. You can touch it because it's part of the land war. You see what I'm saying? What is a lifetime? What does a lifetime? How long can a lifetime last? And what can you do with it? When El Teatro turned 25, this is 1990, we had a big celebration. And we went through a shift. Because when you start out, you're in your 20s, you're young, you're full of vinegar, you want to go, By the time you get into your late 40s, early 50s, you're starting to change. And same thing happened with Teatro Visión. I told them, when they reached 27, they went through a critical change, All groups go through a critical change because we all do it in our lives. We enter middle age. And so you have to regenerate yourself in some way. And the Teatro Campesino at 1990 went through a change economically because we were naturally changing. So we had to rely on the next generation and boost them. This is why I'm so happy that you recognize Kinan and all of the leadership, our three sons, but also the young people in the teatro that are keeping it alive and have made the next 25 years happen. Because if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here. We had to rely on the next generation to get us over. And the next generation, the next 25 years, is dependent on the young people that are there now. So you young people, you're absolutely essential. You're absolutely essential. I was very moved on TV yesterday. You saw little Sophie Cruz run up to the Pope, 5 years old. What an agitator. What a troublemaker. She was out there, she's trying to gotta find the vámonos, you know. I got my t-shirt and I got, you know, the message for the Pope, you know, and no one was gonna stop her, man. And the Pope finally saw her, God bless him, you know, and he said, bring her over here. So she goes, and then she hands him what she had to give him, and then she gets interviewed on national television, and she's perfectly bilingual. She's perfect, little indigena face, lovely, beautiful little face. But what's amazing to me, she's perfectly bilingual and she's on national television. And someone posted something on Facebook, says, this is the face of one of our future leaders. Let's run this little girl for Congress now. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, this is what gives me hope, is to see that kind of presence, that kind of perspicacity, that kind of courage, that kind of beauty emerging from immigrants that are just arriving. America has to renew itself constantly. Clifford Odets, who wrote Awake and Sing, and he wrote Waiting for Lefty and a number of other plays, was of the Jewish community, and his characters are Jews, you know, in the 1930s, you know. Well, Chicanos are like the Jews, you know, of the 1930s, that's all. It's immigrants keep arriving with the same set of conditions, and so it's only the land war that helps them to get across. It's the generational war that helps them. And that involves all of us. That involves all of us. And to be Latino is to acknowledge that we're the whole melting pot. That we're everybody. We're not just one thing or the other. We're not white, we're not black. We're both white and black. We're also Asian. Okay, we're also indigena. And that's why as a playwright, I mean, I had to come around and deal, and I still have a few places to go. I mean, I have stuff that I can't, my reach, you know, exceeds my grasp. I won't finish, I know that. Cesar used to say that, we won't finish. The work will remain unfinished when we're done. So it has to pass it on to the other generation. And I pass it on to the young people here. To know that, hell, you're studying stuff in class, it's real. Real people do that. The Pope is a real man. I went from here to Cuba in 1964. After I graduated, I joined a thing called the Student Committee for Travel to Cuba. We went to protest a travel ban that is only now starting to come apart. And I went to Cuba. I'd never ridden in an airplane, I'd never flown. Suddenly I'm flying to New York, and to Paris, Akijo, you know what I mean? To Paris, and Paris to Prague, because that was the only way to get to Cuba. We climb in the airplane, Cubana de Aviación, and then 40 hours in the air, all the way back to La Habana, you know? And who did we meet? Che Guevara. There's Che Guevara walking into the room, boom, choque la mano. He's alive, he's a human being, what do you know? Most beautiful green eyes you could ever imagine, a handsome man, you know? Not a giant, about 5'10", you know? But the fact is that he was a presence. Fidel, I got to play baseball with Fidel. You know, it was a moment we're throwing the ball around, hot pepper, you know? And I'm doing shortstop, he's pitching, you know? And so he hit me the ball, and I'm like throwing the ball out the outfield and back, and then I throw it back to Fidel, and he has a back turn because somebody asked him a question. And so I said, Fidel! And he turned, caught the ball, you know? I could have been saying, Chuy! You know? I felt the absurdity of the moment, but I got to play baseball with Fidel Castro. He's not a devil, he's a human being. They're all human beings. We are all human beings. That's why we need to learn about the human race. What is it about? And our country, the United States of America, our country is not perfect. No country is. And human progress is not perfect. I know enough now, but the human progress is a spiral, because the Mayas taught me that. It's the power of zero, that the human progress is a spiral, okay? And that, yes, we have a free enterprise system with capitalism, fine. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't need correctives. Just like our political process requires checks and balances, so does our economic system require checks and balances. We need a union movement to protect the workers from the corporate types. That doesn't mean we need to destroy Wall Street. We need Wall Street in order to create the jobs. But there has to be a balance, and there have to be corrections. And you go this way, and you go that way, and you go this way, and then pretty soon you're doing the mambo, whatever, But the thing is that's what I have learned in life. And I try to pass that on to the young people, because you have to learn that. You have to learn that you can go anywhere. You can go as I did, a little Rasquachi plume picker from the Santa Clara Valley, who came to this campus, and I have made it to Broadway, and I have been on the sound stages of Hollywood and made movies. We can do it all. I've been in the White House. You can do it all. It's for people. Let's not get so blown out. We're all human beings, and we all make mistakes, but we can also correct our mistakes. And that takes activism. To be an activist with a big heart and a big love for people, especially your family. Love for your brothers and sisters that you can work with. And I would like for the Teatro Campesino to stand up and take a bow. The board of directors, Richard, go ahead, please. And Cesar and Kathy, there's Marilyn, stand up. Those of you, Danny, stand up, por favor. Kathy. All right. You will see some of the pictures, some of the notes, because it's only a part. You may sit down, please. It's part of the exhibit. But you can actually get a copy of the panels that are up on the wall. You can purchase. It's a fundraiser after all, But these are photographs from a big family, and we're putting that book together because this is our 50th. We've decided not to just celebrate our 50th. We're going to do it the Aztec way. The Aztec calendar didn't stop at 50. They went to 52. Okay? Because that's a sacred calendar, and the solar calendar merged every 52-year cycle. So we're entering our 52-year cycle celebration here. And so this is really the first event, as Catherine said. Mil gracias, Catherine, for sponsoring us. I can't think of a better, more perfect place to celebrate this. We will be back in November because we want to talk about Valley of the Heart, about the love story of a Mexican family, a Japanese family here in Silicon Valley before it was Silicon Valley, when it was Santa Clara. We'll be at the San Jose Stage Company, our partners here in San Jose now. We are trying, not just trying, we are going to get into the Hammer Center, okay? Jorge talked about the LATC in San Jose. Everybody knows that they're gentrifying the hell out of San Francisco. People can't even afford to live there. I want to see San Jose develop into a world-class theater center for people of all backgrounds. And that Hammer Center is part of it. We need your help. And with the help of the university, which is taking it over, and companies like the San Jose Stage Company, Teatro Visión, and Teatro Campesino, we're going to make it legitimate. We're going to make it work for the city of San Jose and the whole valley. And it's part of the future for you young people, because all those opportunities need to be here right next to you, so you can go out. You can go out and connect with the rest of the world. I hope that I have not left anybody out. I know I've spoken longer than I intended to. I invite you to come up and enjoy the exhibit. I want to thank Catherine and Julia for the tremendous job that they have done. I feel at home here. Gracias, thank you all, and thank you for coming. Que viva la raza, que viva el movimiento, que vivan los trabajadores campesinos.